Happy Friday and welcome to Small Biz Friday. We are in our new digs, so it looks a little different.
That's right. We got a new office this week.
Right? Beautiful view. You can see it. Just look over there. Maybe not. The business handlers are missing, but that's okay. Somehow we'll all get by without the business handlers. So today...
Yes?
Today we're talking about really one of my rules for living. My poor kids have had to hear their entire lives. Rule number one, when all else fails, improvise.
Improvise. I love that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, it's really the key to being successful in business. It's really, I'd say a lot of things are the key to being successful in business, but really, like, you have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to adjust.
Well, I think improv is the key to being successful at life, man. I think that just being able to adapt to all your situations is kind of the key to being great at all the things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, really, you know, I've said for years, everything I learned by banging my head on something, right? Like,
right.
Oh, that's what not to do.
Yeah.
But even in Scouts, there's this thing that I teach Scout leaders all the time that is, it's never going to go perfect. It's never going to go according to plan, but it's always going to go perfectly, and that it always works out in the end.
Right.
And so life is what happens when things aren't going according to plan, and so is business. Business is exactly the same. So what we're going to talk about today is how to help your business be able to use an industry phrase, pivot, to be able to adjust and improvise, because we got a system for everything.
Well, we have 4 things to keep in mind in order to help you improvise, because some people are naturally good at it and some people aren't, and that's okay. If you're one of those people who are like, I don't really like to improvise, that's okay. Just keep these 4 things in mind, and it will help you to be able to do more things.
Yeah, all the things.
All the things.
Right? So
all the things.
Speaking of things, what's thing number 1?
Thing number 1 is it can't be precious. And this is one of those things that, like, when you build something, you got to think about it like when you're building a house. If you're designing a house with an architect, or you're designing something, you can try to make the most perfect thing in the whole world. But the next person who moves in after you, they're going to change something. They're going to renovate something. Something is going to go. Something is going to get chucked. Or you, in 5 years, you're going to want to change something. And that's why it can't be precious. It can't be so special to you. All the little aspects of your business can't be so special that they can't change.
Of course, what you're talking about is not that you shouldn't be connected to your business. I mean,
right.
That is your baby.
It's your baby. It is precious.
That baby has to grow up to be its own entity. It has to grow up to be its own thing. And boy, that's the word of the day.
Yeah.
But as it evolves, your business is going to evolve to adjust to your customers. Your business is going to evolve to adjust to your needs, or the needs of the industry, or whatever's going on in the world.
Right.
And so if you create the perfect business on a business plan, implementing that is going to be so close to impossible, because while you've adjusted and planned for and counted for a million things, that 1,000,001th is what's going to completely derail that plan.
Right.
There's an adapted phrase that says, no business plan survives first contact with the customer.
Yeah.
And business plans are important that you think through the process, but it can't be always what's on the paper. It has to be something new.
Right.
You have to be willing to help your business grow as its own entity, not as the perfect thing that you built.
Right, absolutely. An example of that for us this week is we had to change offices, and our little logo got left behind.
Yeah.
And if we got hung up on that and said, oh, we can't leave the logo behind, then we would have halted all of our progress, and we would not be able to change offices. And we can't get caught up on one little thing and let it derail everything else. There
was something fundamental at the beginning of part of our design that, I came from a large corporate environment. Before that, I came from growing up on a farm and from working in small businesses, owning small businesses. Then I went to work in the big corporate world, and I brought that back to small businesses. And when I first started out, I said, I'm going into consulting. I have this broad skill set, but the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to help businesses develop strong practices. And every single place I went into said, but what about marketing? And now that's, years later, that's one of our core competencies as marketing, being able to help small businesses marketing online or print marketing. When I walked in the door of Paravar, that was a small part of the big thing that we do in helping small businesses. Well, 3 and change years later, now that's a huge part of what we do in helping small businesses, because that's what was needed. And if I had held tight to that, well, it's all going to be about process management, then so many businesses wouldn't get the support that they need in the marketing department. And that's one of the reasons you're here, and one of the reasons that I focus so much on marketing and developing myself. So,
absolutely.
So we had to change to fit the needs of our clients. We had to change to fit the needs of the market. And so to do that, you have to be flexible.
Yeah.
But also, you have to have door number 2.
Door number 2. Door number 2 is a broad skill set. You need to be good at all the things, or at least a lot of the things. Right. And so what does that mean? Okay, so as a human, I can be like, okay, I have this degree and I have this thing, and I have a certain number of skills that I'm really good at, but how do I have a broad skill set? What does that mean?
Expanding, well, there's 2 really, really important keys to having a broad skill set. One is the intention. The reason that you have a broad skill set is not necessarily because you need to know how to do all these things. It may be because you need to be able to communicate some of these things with people who do know how to do them, or it may be because something spontaneously comes up that you need to figure out. And so you start to have this sort of reflective skill set. You start to have a skill set that when I first learned to use Photoshop, I had another program that was working very, very well. If you guys can't afford Photoshop, first off, that's the industry standard, do it. But Paint.net is a great program.
Canva's a current.
Canva's a great one. It's quick and easy, right? So you can knock this out really easily. But to be able to fit the industry, I had to learn Photoshop.
Right.
It's a long time ago now, but suddenly I came into a situation where I needed to know that. Well, thankfully, some of the other skills I had picked up along the way gave me the ability to learn Photoshop in a better way. But there's other weird connections. There's other things that don't even make any sense, like electrical work. Like, I've done electrical work. Well, now I can sit across the table from an electrician and say, yeah, I know exactly what you're trying to do.
Yeah. It helps your marketing skills because you know a little bit about the electrician and his work.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that reflective connection is important too. That you know that maybe this thing doesn't necessarily apply to what you do for a living, but it does apply to some of the things you might do along the way.
So I love learning new things, and a couple of my resources that I use a lot are lynda.com. If you're wanting to learn a new professional type skill, whether it be Excel, Microsoft, some sort of program, photography, Photoshop, lynda.com has a lot of really in-depth classes. So if there's something like that you're wanting to improve on, I highly recommend lynda.com. No, I'm not getting paid for this. Nobody's giving me money. But it's just a really inexpensive subscription service where you can just learn all the things, professional type things, from a bunch of different teachers. And then another resource that I use, right now I'm using it a little bit more than Lynda, and that is Skillshare.com. And that is more of like, hey, I want to learn how to draw some really quirky figures, or I want to learn how to letter something really pretty, or I want to improve. Currently I'm doing a lot of watercolor classes on that one. And it's Skillshare.com. It is an app on your phone, and you can also use it on the computer, and it's also a subscription service, but it's like $10 a month, so it's really cheap, and anybody can be a teacher, and they can teach you anything. So it's really heavy in the creative stuff, like.
Well, and if that's not in your budget, there are a couple other great resources. Obviously, YouTube.
YouTube is great.
Many people have founded a business based on YouTube. The Small Business Development Center, we tout them a lot, but the Innovation Center, both of those are great resources for free classes. I mean, the truth of starting a small business is the skill set that got you here will not get you where you're going. It's a completely different skill set. You have to expand. You suddenly have to know how to manage an income statement. You suddenly have to know what strategic planning is. Or you suddenly have to know, how to create a budget or respond to a budget. And 20, 50, 1,000 years worth of technical expertise is not going to teach you those things. You have to expand your skill set to include the things that you need to know, and also be able to communicate with the people that you need to communicate with.
Yep.
So, you know, thing number 3, the third thing that really ties into that, and we're kind of talking about that, is you have to be able to respond.
Go
quickly.
with it. Just
Go
with it. And step number 3, going with it, is just kind of, opportunities are going to present themselves to you. And you're going to say, hey, that wasn't my original plan, but you know what? That looks like it's the next step. That looks like it's the next pathway or portion of the path that I'm going to take. And you have to just kind of trust the organic process of it. I mean, there's just kind of no way around it. If you get so stuck onto the path that you want to create, you're going to miss out on the natural opportunities that present themselves. So just go with the flow, man.
Life happens, right?
Life does happen.
And,
Business happens.
And sometimes those things that don't make any sense are your greatest opportunities.
Right.
They're the thing that is going to completely change your business. You were just telling me a story about financing.
Oh, yeah. So I was listening to this podcast, and this lady was talking about how she was sitting across the table from her friend, a really good friend of hers, who was in the tech field, and she was asking her about her new business, and it had launched like a couple months earlier, and she was like, okay, I want to invest in that. And she was like, oh, I didn't think I was in the fundraising stage, but I think that I'm in the fundraising stage now. Yes, absolutely, you can invest in that. And from that point forward, for the next 3 months, she worked really, really hard on the fundraising stage of her business. But she didn't quite think she was there. But the opportunities presented themselves, and she's like, okay, so this is the path that we're going to take now.
Yeah. And just recently for us, a similar thing that happened was we found ourselves in in a position to apply for government contracts.
Yeah.
That's not a thing that we've done. But you know, when a person comes and says, hey, listen, we'd like to do management services or development services, marketing services for, you know, an extra $50,000 a year, we say, well, maybe we'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that opportunity you don't expect may be the thing that completely changes and defines your business. So
yeah.
So keep an eye for that.
In a good way.
You've got a comment on Facebook. I
Oh,
can see
I
somebody's
do.
talking about
I love it. Let me check that out.
And just as an aside, while she's looking that up, jump into the conversation and add what you have, because really it's an iterative process, right? We're all here to help your business, so you know what your business is talking about. And,
Monica says, I completely agree. A stagnant business will not make it. You have to be willing to learn and go with the flow. That's so true, Monica.
It's absolutely true. There's a thing that I've heard for 20 years in business, and it's that you're either growing or you're dying.
Yeah.
If your business isn't growing, it's shrinking. People are leaving your business at some point. Sometimes it's literally just because they're passing away. Sometimes it's because somebody else had it cheaper or somebody else did it better.
Yeah.
But our world moves so quickly, you have to be able to move with it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so the first 3 ones were, it can't be precious in order to improv. It cannot be precious. 2, you have to have a broad skill set. So keep improving. Look at what skills you want to gain. Sometimes they may not make sense. Sometimes it's like, oh, I want to learn a little more about electrician, and that has nothing to do with my business, but it's what I want to do right now. Go with it. Learn a new skill. Number 3 is just go with the flow. And the 4th step,
When all else fails, call for backup.
Call for backup.
As a business owner, business manager, whatever, your very first job is to fire yourself. You promoted yourself from technician to business owner. And so I was in horticulture, and I had to be out in the field with the techs. And the techs always had their gear. And one of their pieces of gear was a watering bucket. Makes sense, right? They're horticultural technician. And so when I was out and visiting technicians and visiting clients and growing the business, on my phone, on the thing, it said, where are your buckets? And the reason I had that is because if I was holding my buckets, I was not doing my job. I had to find someone to do the job so that I could do more. And when I first started business, I learned that very quickly, and I think that that's something that most small businesses start learning almost immediately, is that if you are on the front lines, you're not managing the business. But also, as soon as you start managing the business, like 70% of it, you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned that way. That was turn of the century, but I learned the same way. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do on this. You learn enough to be able to have a conversation, and then you call somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's Jeff's talking about two kinds of backup, and the first kind of backup is where you're hiring somebody who can do the thing that you've always done, and that is, maybe it's. I originally got hired to plug things into Excel here,
which was a total mistake.
So,
wait, she's great at Excel, but dang, she's much better at other things.
No, but then you needed somebody to do that thing,
yeah.
And so you hired somebody to do that thing. And could you have done it? Yeah, but your time was better used somewhere else. And then the other kind of backup is to either hire, like internally, or outsource the thing that you can't do, the thing that you don't have the skill set for, the thing that is just too much, and learning that thing would be hard. So one of ours is payroll. We pay somebody else to do payroll.
Yep, we totally could do it ourselves, but why would we do that?
No, too much time.
Yeah, I mean, we have other things that we could be doing that are more effective.
Yeah.
And so, and honestly, like filing taxes, there are people that are much better at that than I am. That's why we do those things, and recognizing when you need backup. And sort of a third part of backup is ask people who are doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
In the industry, in any industry, literally any industry, you'd be surprised at how many people are willing to help you become their competitor.
Yeah.
It's really true, because everybody's at different stages. We work with other businesses that do almost exactly what we do, and we're always happy to help, and they're always happy to help us because we're all growing together.
Right.
And we have slightly different markets, or we have,
slightly different expertise.
Yeah, slightly different expertise. So sometimes your backup is just ask somebody's advice who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think your first line of defense for backup, in our opinion, here is the SBDC. You can always call the SBDC. And if you don't know even who to call, they do. They really do. So that's your first line of defense.
Or us. Feel free
to
call
us. You can call us
We know
anytime.
people.
We know people. But seriously, you can call us, and we can help you find the person that's going to fill that void for you. So the takeaway points: improvisation is great, man.
In fact, it's vital. But to be able to improv, you have to be able to recognize that your business can't be precious. It can't be that perfect thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to expand your skill set. Keep growing.
Keep getting better.
Yeah, keep getting better. That's one of my other rules for life. Oh my gosh, we're hitting on my rules for life. One is get better. Just get better. Start from where you are and grow. When stuff happens, just go with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that stuff that happened is the most important thing. And when all else fails,
call for backup.
So here we are, your backup.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of things coming up. We've got...
today is a big deal.
Today is a big deal.
Today is a big deal. It's my favorite day of the year. It's my favorite holiday.
Today is National Coffee Day, guys.
National Coffee Day.
Drink lots of coffee for us. Actually, we'll drink lots of coffee on our own. It's fine.
You can't drink coffee. I drank all the coffee.
It's National Coffee Day, so splurge a little. Get yourself your favorite cup of coffee. Drink coffee all day.
Whatever. Nobody's going to judge you.
Nobody
At least we're not. Somebody else might, but nobody at Starbucks, I promise you, will not judge you for drinking coffee all day. So.
It's National Coffee Day.
Yep. And then there's other things.
We do have other things. You've got a class coming up.
Yes, I have an SPD class coming up on the 17th
of
October, capturing the holidays. So if you haven't already started planning for Christmas, this is your last minute grab a hold of get as much as you possibly can of that holiday market. In the industry I used to work at, we did 80% of our business in 2 months. So you really want to be... It's huge. It's so huge. And so we're going to talk about Black Friday. We're going to talk about market positioning, making sure you're there when somebody needs you. Because that's what, for small business, holiday marketing is all about. It's just being present. No pun intended.
Be present.
Be holiday present. Anyway. And then on Monday, we are going to be in Austin at the Small Business...
Tuesday. It's on Tuesday.
Tuesday.
We're traveling on Monday.
On Tuesday, we're going to be at the Small Business Expo. So keep an eye for that because we're going to be doing some live shots throughout the day.
Yeah, we will be mainly on our Instagram page on Tuesday. We're going to be doing Instagram stories from the Small Business Expo. Of course, we'll also be on Facebook, but if you're not already following us on Instagram, check that out because we will be all over there.
At Part of Our Design. Super easy. Facebook is Part of Our Design. I think you get the gist.
Yeah, so check us out there, and we'll be doing stories all day. So that's next week.
And
next week we're in October.
Oh my gosh, it's fall. It's fall.
It is fall. So do something fun in October.
Yeah, start with coffee.
Today.
And then today, it's the last day of September-ish, second to last day of September. So go celebrate with coffee. Go do fall things. Start your business and improvise something. Do something you didn't expect. Do something that is going to make you better and grow your skill set. And hey, from us here at Part of Our Design, we're here for you. And thanks for being part of the family.
Absolutely.
We will talk to you again on Tuesday on
we'll
Instagram.
Talk to you on Tuesday.
So
Instagram stories. Check us out there. We'll also probably do a live from Facebook.
Yeah, probably.
I can't see why we wouldn't.
So keep an eye. We're going to be everywhere. We're going to be in your house. We're going to be holiday present. So have an awesome week. We will see you next Friday, and go out there and rock your business.